Hello, this is Mr. Anksman, and this is the section 9.3 notes on molecular compounds. So there's one learning goal for this section, and that is to apply the rules for naming and writing formulas for binary molecular compounds. So this is different than the last couple of sessions of notes that you've seen. So it's a different naming method. Binary, so there's going to be just two elements involved, but these are going to be molecular compounds, so it's just going to be non-metals that are involved in this type of molecule. All right, so a couple hints on this. So when we have a molecular compound, it's going to be two non-metals. All right. So the nice thing with this is we don't have to. All you have to do is identify it as this type of molecule. You don't have to worry about charges at all. Both of the elements would form negative ions anyway, so they couldn't add up to zero anyway. So it's just going to be two nonmetals, so two elements that would form negative ions, and they're on the top right of the periodic table. Now the thing with this naming method is we have to use prefixes, all right? So we just have to know what the prefixes are. So we use prefixes to indicate the number of each kind of atom, and we want to know the prefixes up through 8, all right? So we go mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, and octa. Those are the prefixes that we need to know. Now, a couple more details with this. The prefix mono, we don't use that on the first element in this naming method. So CO2, we just call that carbon dioxide. We don't call it monocarbon dioxide. So the prefix mono is the only one that's dropped on the first element. The other prefixes like di, tri, tetra, so on and so forth, we would keep those on that first element. It's only mono that you drop, all right? But on the second element, we use a prefix no matter what, all right? And the other important thing is that the name ends with "ide", all right? So it's always going to be an "ide" ending. The first element in the name, we don't change that. You just keep that as the element name. But the second element is going to end with "ide", all right? So let's practice a little bit. All right, so chlorine trifluoride. So I'll talk through these and I'll show you the answers for this in a little bit, and then you'll have a chance to practice too. All right. So chlorine trifluoride. So chlorine and fluorine are both nonmetals. So this is a molecular compound. All right. So when we see this, the prefix in the name will turn into the subscript in the formula. So chlorine doesn't have a prefix. That means it would just have one because we drop mono. So there would be one chlorine. And then fluoride has a prefix of tri. So that means 3. So that means fluorine is going to have a subscript 3. So it'd be ClF3. And again, I'll show you all the answers in a little bit after I talk through all these. Okay, so next one, dinitrogen tetrahydride. Again, when you see the prefixes turn into the subscript in the chemical formula. So nitrogen would have a 2 because of the di, so it'd be N2, and tetra means 4, so it'd be H4, so N2H4. All right, now going the other direction, if given the formula, we want to write out the name. So these are both nonmetals. Sulfur and oxygen are both nonmetals, so we have to use prefixes in the name. There's only one sulfur, but we drop mono on the first element, so we're just going to leave it as sulfur. Oxygen has 3 oxygens in this molecule. The prefix for 3 is tri, so it's going to be called trioxide. So it'll be called sulfur trioxide. The next one. There's 2 carbons in this formula. So the prefix for 2 is di, so it's going to be dicarbon. And then 5, we use penta for that, so it's going to be pentafluoride. So here's those answers right there. So ClF3 for chlorine trifluoride, N2H4 for dinitrogen tetrahydride, and sulfur trioxide for SO3, and dicarbon pentafluoride for C2F5. Now, a common mistake that I see is ending this first element with an "ide", because in section 9.2 it would always be sulfide. But now when we're naming these molecular compounds, you need to remember that we're only changing the ending of the second element. The first element, you just keep it as the name of that element. You don't change it. So we keep it as sulfur trioxide, not sulfide trioxide. All right, so just be careful of that. Okay, so here's 6 of them. You should pause the video, try these out, and then I'll show you the answers in just a little bit. Okay, there's the answers for those 6. N2O for dinitrogen monoxide, PCl5 for the phosphorus pentachloride, BCl3 for the boron trichloride, sulfur hexafluoride for SF6, dicarbon pentabromide for C2BR5, and this iodine dioxide for this IO2. And that's all for section 9.3. Have a great day. Bye.